The most unpredictable Women's Slam is here as the 2025 Wimbledon Ladies Draw dropped this morning. It's full of intriguing first-round matches, especially for the defending champion, Barbora Krejcikova. The draw is also full of opportunity as none of the top 10 seeds have ever lifted the Venus Rose water dish. In fact, we've had 8 different ladies champions in the past 8 Wimbledons. Will our newly reconciled world #1 and #2s navigate some potential early round threats to restore order and give us a second straight Gauff Slam final, or will we see yet another unexpected winner take the title on final Saturday? Hello, my name is Christian Bus Knight. I can't do a British accent. And welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell. I promise I won't do the accent again, or if I do it again, I'll practice it. But anyways, make sure you click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post my men's Wimbledon draw preview and prediction video. First, looking at the projected quarterfinals, we have Sabalenka Keys. I don't know, Zheng breathed a sigh of relief when she realized that she was finally not projected to face Sabalenka in a quarterfinal. This would be a rematch of Australian Open final, of course, Keys Sabalenka. Then speaking of Zheng, she's projected to face Jasmine Paolini, who she has a 4-0 head-to-head record over. Then in the bottom half, we are projected to have Jessica Pegula against Mira Andreeva, followed by Swiatek going up against Coco Gauff. First, looking at Aryna Sabalenka, she's only played Wimbledon twice this century as, of course, COVID prevented her from playing in 2020. She was unable to play in 2022 due to the ban, and then last year she was forced out of the tournament due to a shoulder injury. She will open against Canadian qualifier Carson Bernstein, who got some good wins in the qualifying rounds, defeating Lois Bosol and Bianca Andreescu. Assuming Sabalenka gets by that match, which I think she will, she would face either Lulu Soon or Maria Boskova. Soon, she did have that breakthrough Cinderella run to the quarterfinals at Wimbledon last year, although this year she has really been struggling, going 8-18 win-loss record-wise. And then Boskova, she is a Wimbledon quarterfinalist herself back from 2022, and she also beat Sabalenka in DC last year. But I still think that regardless of who she faces in that second round, Aryna should get through. Now, the third round will be very, very interesting, I feel, because she will face likely either McCartney Kessler, the 32nd seed, Marketa Vondrousova, the 2023 champion, and Emma Raducanu, a 2021 U.S. Open champion. And this can go either way. I can see really either of these three making it through. I think Vondrousova, while she is the lowest ranked of these 3 women, she probably has the best shot as she's been in the best form, in my opinion, coming through and winning the Berlin 500 title, beating Sabalenka in the semifinals en route. Kessler, though, she also picked up a title on grass this past week in Nottingham, so that's going to be a really, really tough opening round match for either of those women. That's going to be really definitely one to watch. Emma Raducanu, I mean, she showed okay form in her grass lead-up tournaments. She recently lost to Maya Joint, who eventually made the finals in Eastbourne. So, I mean, she definitely has potential, and she'll have the full crowd behind her side. So I definitely can see her making it through there too. But for sure, the biggest threat for Sabalenka in that third round will be Vondrousova. Now, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Marketa didn't make it this far because, again, her draw is tricky, and Kessler is definitely a tough opponent in the first round. But also, I'm just wondering if Marketa's physical issues might rear their ugly heads here. I mean, she did fine in Berlin, winning the title, of course, but she did suffer, or she did have a lot of straping on her shoulder, which has caused her problems multiple times throughout her career. So I wouldn't be surprised if potentially that issue came about here in Wimbledon. But also, I do think that Sabalenka, I think she is pretty good at getting revenge, and the Berlin loss, I think, could be good for her in facing Vondrousova. I don't see her losing to her in back-to-back tournaments, so I would have Sabalenka coming through that one and beating Vondrousova, and then I'd have her, Sabalenka, beating Kessler or Raducanu as well. Then looking down, we have a very likely third round between Elise Mertens and Elina Svitolina, and those two actually just played in Bad Homburg this past week, and Svitolina won that match 7-5, 6-4. I'd have Elina winning here to face Big Lenka, Sabalenka in the fourth round, and I would have Aryna making it through to the quarterfinals. Next is Madison Keys' section, and I think this is a pretty solid draw for the American. You have Paula Badosa up top, who always seems to have like an injury problem or something. So I don't really see her doing too much, as she just pulled out of the Berlin quarterfinals due to an injury. She also has an interesting opening round match, does Paula against Katie Bolter. Although Katie hasn't been that all impressive this season, she didn't win her customary Nottingham title, so not coming into this tournament as high on confidence, but I think regardless, she has what it takes to beat the Spanish woman. Then looking down a little bit more, Donna Vekic, last year's semifinalist, she's there, and she has a lot riding on this tournament because if she doesn't perform well, she could fall outside the top 50. I think that Vekic, though, should make it out of there and at least make the third round. I'm not really confident in Paula or Katie's chances this year, so I'm going to be sending Vekic through to the second week at Wimbledon yet again. Observing Keys' little section, I think Maddie does have a good draw on paper, but she does have a few threats lingering here. First, in the opening round is Elena Gabriela Rusa, and Rusa, the Romanian, she's pretty good on grass. She just made the Sure Talking Ball finals in like one of the earlier weeks of the grass season, and she did so as a qualifier. Not to mention, Rusa, she always just seems to tussle with the top seed or a decent ranked seed player at a slam, as she pushed Maddie very hard, in fact, at the Australian Open second round this year, pushing her to 7-5 in the third set. But still, I think that Maddie should get through and make the second round. There, Keys could face Olga Danilovic, who is a pretty dangerous threat, I feel, but I think just you got to favor Keys on grass. I think grass would favor Keys a little bit more, even more so in this matchup, as it's not the Serbians' favorite surface I've observed. I don't really have many high expectations for Fernandez at all. I mean, I say this, I feel every time, and same can be said for Peyton Stearns. She really has struggled to do anything of note ever since making the Rome semifinal. Even though she did beat Keys in Rome there, grass is just not really her strongest surface. I'm going to be picking Maddie to come through this section. I just think her slam prowess cannot be denied. She really knows how to elevate her level for the slams, and I just think that regardless of what threat might potentially loom, she should still get through on paper. She's gotten in decent match reps on the grass thus far this season, so I think that she will be definitely a strong favorite to get through. Next, Jasmine Paolini, last year's finalist. Her section is definitely something. She could face big hitters in the third and fourth rounds in Linda Noskova and Amanda Anisimova, respectively. Noskova looked good in Bad Homburg, and she nearly defeated Jessica Pegula in the semifinals. She really should have beaten JPEG, but I do think Noskova very well could lose to American Bernarda Pera. And Noskova, she doesn't have the best reputation at doing well at slams herself. I do think that Amanda Anisimova can pose a great threat to Paolini. Now, Amanda's biggest threat in the opening week, I feel, would be her first round match against Yulia Putintseva. And Putintseva, while she has not done that much this year, the Kazakhstani is still great on grass, and she is no stranger to beating seeds at Wimbledon, as she knocked out Iga Swiatek in the third round here last year. Beatrice Haddad-Maia, I think that she could be in trouble against Rebecca Shremkova, who is a great, solid player, and Haddad-Maia is another player who doesn't necessarily do all that great in the slams, and she just hasn't had the greatest season herself this year. She's tough to call, I feel. I feel like she can beat anybody, but she can also have some just really lopsided losses. She just made the semifinals of Bad Homburg, so she is coming in here on a decent amount of confidence, although she was beaten pretty decisively 1-3 by Iga Swiatek in that semifinal. I also think that Jasmine could be dealing with the pressure of trying to defend finals points from last year, and I think perhaps that could have impeded her and caused her to lose that fourth round match against Elena Svitolina at Roland Garros this year, where she was also defending finals points. I'm going to be siding with Anisimova to come through this section. I just think that it's Amanda's time to make another slam quarterfinal. I think that's overdue for her. She looked good in Queens, made the final there, and she also made the Berlin quarterfinals. So I think for sure, why not her return to the quarterfinal stage at Wimbledon. At the top of Xinwen Zheng's section is Deanna Schneider, who I think will be pretty dangerous. She's going to be flying under the radar, as she hasn't really done too much notable being transparent at the top level, but she can still play well on every surface, and I think that she'll be even more dangerous on the grass. Ons Jabeur, she will be for sure an unseeded dark horse. She's a two-time finalist here at Wimbledon, and she hasn't had that many wow results lately, but she did make the Berlin quarterfinal as a lucky loser, beating Paolini en route. Yelena Ostapenko is here. Of course, she's a threat on paper. She made the quarterfinals here last year, but she does not always know how to bring it for the majors. And then a bigger thing too is that she had an ankle tweak in Eastbourne in that match against Alex Ayala. I don't know if that was more a means of trying to save herself for Wimbledon and if she is okay, but still not that high on Ostapenko and her prospects, considering the factors I just mentioned with her not having the best slam track record and this potential injury. She could, for sure, that's a good opportunity for her to make the second week and perhaps even make the quarterfinals. That's going to be an interesting and potential good opportunity for her. In this bottom part, I mean, you have Ashlyn Kruger, the American. She really hasn't done much lately, to be honest. You think that grass should suit her big game very well, but I don't know if she has it right now, especially at a major. Below her, we have an intriguing opening round popcorn match between Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Ajla Tomljanovic, both of whom are great players on grass, especially Tomljanovic, who has made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon, I believe, multiple times. And Pavlyuchenkova, I mean, she loves to find herself in a random slam quarterfinal. I honestly think that Zheng is more beatable here at Wimbledon, not only because we all know that grass is not her favorite surface, it's probably her least comfortable surface, but she has never made it to the second week at Wimbledon, and she hasn't won a match here actually at SW19 since 2022. I wouldn't be that shocked if Katerina Siniakova, I would not be that shocked at all if Katerina Siniakova got her out of there in that first round match, to be honest. As Siniakova, while again she hasn't had the best results, the biggest results recently herself, she, I think, has the game to for sure trouble Zheng if she is not on. Another big threat for Zheng is in the second round with Naomi Osaka. I think Naomi will get through to the second round. She has a pretty favorable opening round match against a qualifier, Talia Gibson. My apologies to Miss Gibson for that. Like I said, Zheng is even more vulnerable on the grass. And while grass isn't necessarily Naomi's strongest suit, I still think that she would enjoy the grass a little bit more compared to Zheng as far as their respective game styles. But the only thing is with Naomi here is that she just always seems to struggle mentally, I think, in tight matches with top players. And I think she would have to kind of win this in 2 sets, I feel. I don't know if I see her winning this in 3 sets. And I just think that her winning this in 2 sets, even in itself, is a really tough ask. It can be done, but it's going to be tough, especially knowing her sometimes like choking capabilities, and she isn't necessarily the most mentally tough in the tight moments against top players. So I don't know. That's been the thing that's been holding her back from getting these big wins. Again, it is possible, but I don't know if I see it for her. And I really do think this is a good chance if she were to beat Zheng to actually come through and make the quarterfinals. But she has a block 2 in the slams, and she hasn't made a slam second week since her last slam win at the 2021 Australian Open. So I think I'm going to be picking Xinwen there to make it out, but I will not be picking Zheng to make this quarterfinal. I'll be having Janet Schneider do that. Again, I could see Ons Jabeur come through and maybe do her big one here, but I just think that Schneider, I think it's a good, solid pick. Her draw is pretty good. Even though she hasn't had the best slam track record, I think this could be her time to actually do something and make her maiden slam quarterfinal. Transitioning to the bottom half and first looking at Mira Andreeva's section, it admittedly has not been the best grass season for the 18-year-old. She's gone 1-2 in her 2 tournaments played, and I still think that she has a little bit of hangover from that Roland Garros loss to Lois Basol. That said, Mira's draw is pretty good here. Haley Baptiste, we all know she's very talented, but I don't have that many high expectations for the American. She hasn't really showed much in the grass as of yet, and I think it'll take her maybe another year or so to have actual good results on this surface. I think that Magdalena Freck, while the Polish woman did just beat her in Berlin, Mira really had no business losing that match for real. I think it was a lot more mental going on for her, and if those two were to face again, I would pick the Russian to come through that one. Speaking of Russians, Freck plays Anastasia Potapova. Potapova, another player who just really struggles to bring it at a major, so I don't really see her doing too much here and causing a lot of havoc. I really think that Andreeva's draw is clear for her to make the second week. Looking down, we have the defending champion Barbora Krejcikova with a big popcorn match against Alex Ayala, who is currently in her maiden WTA final in Eastbourne, so congratulations to her. She is the first Filipina, I believe, WTA player to make a tour-level final. So again, congrats to her, and props to her for continuing to trailblaze for her country. This match will be on center court, so it'll be a great experience for Ayala to play on this big court for the first time. And I think that actually it'll favor her even more because from the looks of it, she seems to really enjoy the big stage a lot more. And I think that she will play even better on the big stage. Not to mention, Krejcikova is pretty vulnerable. She hasn't played a lot of matches this season due to injury, and she has injury concerns heading into this slam as a right thigh issue forced her out of Eastbourne. Now, she did have a few marathon matches in Eastbourne, back-to-back really tough matches, so maybe she just did that to kind of preserve herself for Wimbledon, and she will be okay. But I'm really not expecting another deep run from her at all in this slam, let alone a title defense. So I actually think I'll have Ayala pull off the upset there. Looking down a little bit further, another Czech, Petra Kvitova. She will face American Emma Navarro, and that'll likely be Petra's final Wimbledon match, as she announced that she will likely be hanging it up after the 2025 U.S. Open. So, I mean, it is doable. Navarro hasn't played all that well recently, but I just think that it's going to be a tough ask for Petra to pull that one off. You also have Veronika Kudermetova, a potential second-round opponent for either of these two, likely Navarro, so that could be tricky for her. I mean, overall, it's just a very open section, I feel. I haven't really been that all-impressed by any of the top seeds here. Speaking of Navarro lately, I haven't been that impressed by her. I mean, she made the quarterfinals here last year, and I think that grass can suit her game very well, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she came through again. But I will be going with Mira here, though. It was a toss-up initially for me, but then I looked at their lone meeting, Andreeva and Navarro's, and Mira beat Emma 6-2, 6-2. So, I mean, Navarro very well could have had just an off day, but that potentially could indicate like a matchup issue for the American. Speaking of Americans, third seed Jessica Pegula section is next to observe, and I think that Pegula by far has the best section out of the top four seeds. I think she really is honestly the only true title contender in this entire section. Karolina Muchova, I mean, she's a great player, but right now she's kind of in the trenches as she really honestly can't even hit a two-handed backhand right now due to a wrist injury. I for sure see Xingyu Wang, who made the Berlin finals, knocking her out in round one and going potentially on a little bit of a run here. You also have American Iva Jovic, who qualified for this main draw. The 17-year-old American is very, very talented. She's going to be one to watch for sure, and maybe she could shake things up too. I mean, she has a pretty decent section. Yes, Ekaterina Alexandrova is great on grass, but she is not that great in the slams. So look out for her, potentially Jovic, to do something here big. Then looking down in the bottom part, you have Magda Linette. She's actually decent on the grass, but she just had an injury walkover in Eastbourne, so not sure if she's 100% quite ready for Wimbledon. Then you got Belinda Bencic. She's also good on grass, but she is recovering from a recurring arm injury still. And she also has a juicy matchup with my girl, Alicia Parks. Maybe Parks can do a little something here and get another good win at a slam, but Alicia has not won a match on grass this year, so I'm not so sure about that. Then you got Mama Maria, Tatiana Maria, who won the Queen's title, made history becoming the oldest WTA 500 champion in history. A great win there. She's a former semifinalist here at Wimbledon from 2022, so for sure, I think she has the game to trouble Pegula, especially on this surface. But I do not see Maria going all the way to the semifinals again, even if she does beat JPEG, which I don't think that she will. I think Pegula will get her out of there if they were to play, but wouldn't be totally shocked if Maria did her big one and defeated the third seed. I'm picking Pegula here in this one. I mean, I'm pretty confident in this pick. She's confident herself and currently being in the Bad Homburg finals, getting some really great wins over Navarro, Noskova, and some other players. So she's going to be a big, big favorite to come through, and I do expect her to do so. Pegula's finals opponent in Bad Homburg is Iga Swiatek, who has a very, very interesting section. Despite there being absolutely no popcorn first round matches here, expectations were not that high on Iga coming into the grass swing, but she's been looking really, really good in Bad Homburg, I have to be real. And she broke her finals drought in beating Jasmine Paolini, really crushing Paolini in the semifinals 1 and 3. And she also scored a really solid quarterfinal win over Ekaterina Alexandrova. So been very impressed by her. And she's kind of proving people wrong in that she can have great success on the grass, which I kind of already knew, but in her making the quarterfinals at Wimbledon in 2023, but she's really doing her big one here. Iga is likely to face a bigger hitter though in a challenge in the third round in either Danielle Collins, who beat her in Rome this year, or Marta Kostyuk. I think Collins will be a bigger threat for Swiatek, as I don't know, something about Kostyuk that doesn't really trouble Swiatek, I feel. Like, all of their matches seem to be pretty straightforward in the Polish woman's favor. High key, I definitely could see Collins maybe troubling her and upsetting her, but I don't know. I think that Iga is going to be a little bit more keen on revenge from that Rome defeat, so I don't have Swiatek getting knocked out of the third round, regardless of who she faces. A couple other big hitters are down below in this section, as you got Clara Tauson and Elena Rybakina. Those two are on a collision course for a third round meeting. You also have a few dangerous floaters in Anna Kalinskaya and Maria Sakkari, although neither of those women really know how to excel at a slam either. I feel like I've been saying that this whole video, but it's true. A lot of these players struggle to bring it out of slam. This one is going to be a tough one for me to call. I can see any of these 4 seeds really come through. I'm going to go ahead and pick Swiatek and Rybakina to meet in the 4th round, and that'll be their second straight slam meeting in a 4th round stage, as of course they met at the Roland Garros round of 16, which Iga won in a tight 3-setter. Considering how Rybakina almost beat Iga at Roland Garros on her best surface, you think that Elena would have the edge here at Wimbledon, where grass is by far her favorite surface. But I do think that Elena is kind of struggling with some mental things when it comes time to close out a big name. I mean, we saw with Iga at Roland Garros, she had that match on her racket, and she had the match even more so on her racket against Sabalenka in Berlin, holding 4 consecutive match points, but still unable to close out the world number 1. Rybakina has also lost her last 3 matches against Swiatek, so I'm wondering whether the Kazakhstanian really believes in herself and whether she can truly beat Iga again. I think I'll go ahead and pick Rybakina, just giving her the edge with the grass, and I do think that maybe that'll be the extra factor she needs to get over the hump and finally get a good win, like a big win over a big name player. Last but not least is our reigning Roland Garros champion, Coco Gauff. And I saw a lot of people really saying, oh my gosh, Coco has the worst draw ever. And really, like, it's not that bad looking at it. Like, let's break it down here. First, Diana Yastremska. Yes, she's not the most ideal opening round matchup. You really just don't know what to expect from the Ukrainian. She nearly beat Coco in Madrid earlier this year on clay, Coco's preferred surface, and Yastremska also is coming off a final showing in Nottingham on the grass. And for sure, Yastremska is going to be dangerous on grass, being a big hitter. But Diana did just lose 1 and 2 to Alex Ayala in Eastbourne. She can be very, very streaky, and I feel like a lot of this depends on which Diana shows up to play. Azarenka, I mean, she tested Swiatek a bit about Hamburg. It was kind of like a tight, straight sets win for Iga, but I think the Belarusian is kind of past her prime, and I still think Coco should be all right in that potential second round matchup. And Kenin, she has had a better season, especially on clay, where she made the Charleston finals and nearly beat Keys at Roland Garros, but Kenin has not earned a main draw grass win, so I simply don't know. She also opens against Taylor Townsend, who has a little bit more confidence coming through qualifying, so I can see Tay come through and beat Kenin and knock her out of there. To be honest, Coco is really the only strong title contender in this entire section. The expectations are low for her though, as grass, we all know, is not her best surface, it's her least favorite surface, and it's still, I think, a quick turnaround from winning Roland Garros and her overall having a really grueling clay swing and making the finals of Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. And to her Berlin showing, it wasn't the best, but of course a lot of that was due to, again, the quick turnaround. I think the serve, return, and forehand for sure are still concerns, especially on the grass, where she's a little bit more vulnerable with these quicker conditions. And she's never made it to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon before. This is the only slam where she has never done that. So it's going to be a big obstacle for her to overcome. But still, again, I think that Coco is just the more steady player, and even on grass, I think that'll help her get through this section. I think her biggest threat by far here is Lyudmila Samsonova, and I think that she might be the best player on grass here in this draw. I mean, she looked solid in Berlin, making the semifinals, beating Osaka, Pegula, and Anisimova, but Lyudmila is very, very streaky herself, and she doesn't know how to. But Lyudmila is a little bit unreliable in the majors, just being honest. She has never made a slam quarterfinal. I think Maya Joint could pose Samsonova a big problem in that first round, as Joint is riding high on confidence, currently sitting in the Eastbourne finals. Kasatkina does have a 3-0 head-to-head record over Gauff, although they haven't played in a minute. Plus, Kasatkina has not had a great season for her standards. Yes, there are quite a few challenging players here, but a lot of them are streaky, and if those players are on and she's not, they can potentially beat her. But even on a bad day, Coco can beat pretty much all these women, so I'm going to be having her again make the Elite Eight. Looking over my predictions in the semifinals, I have Sabalenka against Anisimova, followed by Andreeva and Rybakina. And then in the finals, I have Sabalenka, Rybakina, with Sabalenka taking the whole title. Addressing my snubs, first, I'll say Vondrousova was a little bit of a snub, even though rankings-wise, she is supposed to lose her opening round match against Kessler. I bet against her because, for one, again, I can see Kessler beating her in that first round. And I do think, though, that while she can beat Sabalenka again, just Sabalenka at a slam, I think she's going to raise it another notch. And I don't think that she'll allow herself to lose twice in a row to Vondrousova. Keys, I think for sure she can beat Sabalenka. I mean, honestly, Sabalenka and Keys are probably my top 2 title favorites in this tournament, so it's a shame that those two have to face off so early in the quarterfinals. That one, a little bit tough for me to call as well, but I was just feeling Aryna a little bit more. It was just, honestly, a lot of it was based on vibes. I don't think that she will win this title even if she made it out of her section. I think she can. But I just think overall the field would be a little bit too tough for her for this year. I think last year she was definitely fortunate that Keys was injured in that 4th round match. Zheng, I think for sure it's possible for her to make it out of her section, but I don't see her winning this title. Picking between Andreeva and Navarro was admittedly pretty tough for me. I was very, very close, honestly, to picking Emma. I could see her going through. I don't think that Alex has what it takes right now to go on a deep slam run. She is coming off a taxing week at Eastbourne as well, but you never know. I think Pegula should definitely come through her section, but if she doesn't, I don't see any of those other players going deep and winning the whole title. I was honestly close to picking Iga over Rybakina, very, very close. Like I said, it was like a matter of between the head and the heart, and I very well could be wrong, especially with how well Swiatek has been playing in Bad Homburg. But I'm just worried, though, that even despite her high level that she showed in Germany, that the big hitters might, in her section, Collins, Kostyuk, Towson, Rybakina could get her out of here. And again, of course, Samsonova, Kenin, Yastremska, they all have what it takes potentially to beat Coco, but I don't have that happening. Honestly, I do think that Coco, she has a good draw. She has a fine draw. It's not, I don't know if I say good, but she has a fine draw. I think it's a good opportunity for her. And I can see her draw kind of opening up for real. The quarterfinals, though, I think it's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a really tough one for her to get over top of. Honestly speaking, I just don't think Coco is ready to win Wimbledon right now. And I say that because her serve and return need to be on par for her to win this tournament, and they aren't quite there yet. I said this in my Berlin video analyzing her loss to Wong, but she was able to get away with her shakier serve on clay because, it's clay, and she's also able to rely on her athleticism, but she's not going to be able to do this as much here at Wimbledon. So again, I think she can manage the bigger hitters in her section as they're a little bit more streaky, but when you get to the business end of it and you face a Rybakina or even a Swiatek, I think it's going to be a little bit tough, too much of an ask for her here, but she can definitely prove me wrong. I also think, too, mentally, it could be a little bit of a hangover from winning Roland Garros. I just don't think that she adequately rested herself from winning that title. Rybakina, I think for sure it's a gamble for her to make it all the way through to the final, considering how she hasn't had a big result at a big tournament this entire year. But I had her because she proved that she still has it. She has the game style and those tight losses to Swiatek and Rybakina, but it's all mental. And I do think that perhaps this could be the tournament for her where she turns it around. I was unsure, a little bit shaky about having her make it out of the semifinals because she does seem to be a little bit more vulnerable in that stage. But I ultimately picked her over Pegula because I do think that ultimately JPEG and her shoulder could cause problems for her. I noticed that she had the shoulder strapped up this week in Bad Homburg, and she has played some tough matches in Germany. So that could pose a problem for the American. I can see that. She still is by far the best player, consistency-wise in the majors. You can really always count on her to go deep, regardless of whether you say she has a tough draw. She always seems to navigate it. We say she had a really tough draw at Roland Garros, and she made the finals. So this is really not going to be too much of a tough ask for her, in my opinion. I think even though she did lose 2-4 to Vondrousova in Berlin, she has some good signs in that tournament. I mean, she got some good reps, and I think it's good for her coming into this tournament with a little bit more of a chip on her shoulder. And she showed good signs with the serving at times. And she also did some serving volleying, which I think could bode well for her. She also incorporated more slicing, and I think the drop shots will be even more of a big weapon for her on this surface. And I just think that ultimately the power combined with her variety will be the difference maker for her in helping her get over the hump. I mean, she's been knocking on the door a few times. She hasn't had the opportunity in 2022 and in 2024 again due to circumstances kind of out of her control. But now that she's healthy and more obviously confident, being the world's best player this year, I think that this will be her time. And I think that she will fulfill the Serena 2016 prophecy of losing the first two slam finals before coming out on top and lifting the Venus Rose water dish at Wimbledon. That is all I have for my Wimbledon women's preview, and let me know your thoughts in the comments on my predictions, whether you believe that I'm dead wrong in having Sabalenka win. And if you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments who you have taken this title. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post my men's Wimbledon tournament preview. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I will see you all next time here on Christian's Court.